Today we have Joey Gilbert, candidate for Nevada's governor's race, and Robert Beadles, entrepreneur and election fraud expert, to talk about their fight against the system to clean up our corrupted elections. For the viewer, to catch them up to what's happening, could you tell us the events of this last couple of weeks, what's been going on, and where we currently are today?
You know, it's an amazing story, actually. You know, a couple years ago when the governor shut down this state, we started fighting for the people, and that turned into a campaign to run for governor. I was blessed to have, you know, one of the most terrific squads around me, you know, supporters, volunteers, everybody, and we absolutely won over the state. We had the most grassroots support. We had the most statewide support. We had the highest attendance at all events. We won every straw poll. We got the state GOP endorsement, the only candidate for governor. So we were steaming full ahead, and then election night, everyone was very confident, actually, including me, and not because I was being arrogant or cocky, but because we worked so hard. No one worked as hard as we did. Sometimes we did 2, 3, 4, 5 events a day across this valley. We spent, almost 85% of our time in Clark County the remaining 90 days. So we took it seriously, and I always tell everybody, we laughed as a team. I'd say it's training camp, except it's going to be about 12 weeks. So we put in 12 weeks like no one's ever seen, and I believe that between early voting and the mail-in voting, I think we cleaned up. And then election day, we saw some nonsense take place. All of a sudden, Joe Lombardo's winning. They call statewide the race when only 10% of Clark County was reported, 0% of Washoe County, and whatever rural counties had reported by then, I was crushing them. I won, at the time, I was winning all rural counties and won 15 out of the 17 rural counties. Eventually, they pulled Douglas, I think, from me in Washoe by a few hundred votes. But my point for telling you all of this is we had phenomenal support, phenomenal turnout. I actually started the day election day down here in Las Vegas at 3:45 a.m. up, suited and booted, and was out at the 9 largest precincts to encourage people to get in to vote. People came out, gave me hugs, we took pictures. And so all I can say is I left for Reno on the 11:50 flight with my campaign manager, Andrea. We were both feeling very good that we had done everything it took to win this primary. And then that night, as I sat amongst some family and friends and we watched things roll in, like I said, they called the state with 10% of Clark County in and 0% of Washoe in, and all the media called it for Lombardo. At that time, I was looking at the Secretary of State webpage, which had me winning 33.1 or something to his 31.8, and I was ahead, and felt that I would absolutely stay ahead. And then, like as everyone knows, the numbers eventually, 10 days later, don't read out that way. And mine was, I'm not saying that they prolonged mine 10 days, but that by that evening we knew something just didn't smell right. On the exit polling we've done since then, on some of the canvassing we've done, some of the we've done some unconventional things like we call mall stops, and what we've done to get information. No one can find out where these Lombardo votes came from. No one can find out how this man who's so unliked, who no one attended an event, who if he had an event here in town he got booed and heckled at. Again, truly, like I said, no one likes this guy. He's got no personality, no passion, no excitement, and again, did nothing. Campaigned nowhere, besides big donor events. And so it just didn't make sense. And so all I can say is, I've been blessed with an amazing team, same team that's still sitting around me today. But, we've got, Robert Beadles on the phone, and he's someone that has been working on election integrity issues, for a couple of years now, and had been, really heavily invested into, looking at what was happening behind the scenes in the register of voters and the precincts, everywhere we could keep an eye on things. And so what I'll say is that since that time, we have had data come in, we've had election integrity reports filled out, we've had video testimony, we've got pictures, documentation of just the biggest bunch of nonsense you've ever seen. This entire election was a sham. There was no, when I say that, in one place, in Washoe County, they had no registrar of voters. Down here, we've got issues like no chain of custody on ballots, on USB drives, no signature verification. It goes on and on the issues we've seen. the makeup of the people counting and supervising when there's supposed to be different parties mixed together. It shouldn't be 2 Democrats or 2 independents or 2 Republicans. And so the information that's come back to us has really made us express some concern. And that's what led us here today. As you're probably aware, we requested a recount. We do not believe that the vote totals that have been reported by to the public by both the media and the state are what truly happened here in Nevada. And so that all being said, we have now entered a process where we're going to challenge some things, and it started with a recount today here in Clark County, Washoe County, many other counties. When that ends, we don't know. But again, there's too many things, and I just mentioned a few of them. And when Robert joins, he'll give you, if even more finite details of what really went wrong. But let's just say this: we want every legal vote counted. We want to make sure that these elections are transparent, that they're fair, that there's no corruption. And at this point, based on what we've seen, the information we've collected, there's no way you could have certified these elections, let alone be moving forward. And so, look, now I'm going to have to put on a different hat and push this thing as far as I need to push it to get the truth.
I have a million questions, but first let me allow Robert, if you don't mind introducing yourself, talking a little bit about what you do, your expertise, and how you're involved with this whole matter.
Yeah, in a nutshell, Robert Beadles, Christian husband, father, big business builder, Ben Franklin's great nephew. Like many people in 2020, I saw, the shenanigans that happened in the Trump election. After everybody just let us down and nobody seemed to offer up the goods and fix the injustice, I decided to put together a team of some of the best and brightest people on the planet, many of which your listeners and viewers, they probably know their names very, very well, not to mention an incredible team throughout Nevada as well. So put a team together, figured out how they, basically how they stole it, who did it, how they did it. And then from there, put a bounty out basically for $30,000 for anybody to prove us wrong, because they like to call us, election truthers or something like that. I like the truth, so whatever. But anyways, we put a $30,000 bounty. Of course, the press and the media went away because we had called their bluff, because we literally put it out there for the whole world, and everybody that looked into it realized that we were right. So in 2022, we didn't want to have the same issues that we had in 2020. So we sued in Clark County and Washoe County, and won our observation lawsuits, essentially guaranteeing that every Nevadan can be a part of the observation of our elections if they so choose. Whereas we know in 2020, they got kicked out for 10 days. And then they just tell us to trust whatever it is that these appointed people tell us our votes are, right? Disgusting. So anyways, we got those lawsuits. We won on those grounds of being able to have meaningful observation for every Nevadan. We then put everything in place. Some of the best and most amazing volunteers in the world right here in Nevada helped out in Clark and Washoe. Then we had surveillance teams, basically set up like a sting, kind of like we mentioned on the last show together, where we documented everything, right? We documented the entire process before the election started, during the election, after the election, from within the ROV, from outside, from the polling places, and we got it all on video. I mean, just in Washoe County alone, you don't have a register of voters. So how do you have an election? We literally do not have a register of voters. She's been gone since March 8th, right? We had internet hooked up to our EMS machine, according to the assistant register of voters. Right after CISA said, don't do that, right? Basically, you can't trust the machines. There's vulnerabilities to them. We had every single ballot runner on video, photo, their license plate, their vehicle, their face, who they are, where they came from, with every single ballot that entered the register of voters. All of them were by themselves. No nonpartisan or no bipartisan representation where you have multiple people from different parties transporting the ballots. No chain of custody. So as Joey is an amazing attorney, will tell you, with no chain of custody, you got no case, right? So in this case, we have no vote because we didn't have a register of voters. EMS is hooked up to the internet, and we got no chain of custody on the ballots, right? So we put together our entire case, just the basics, right? The basics of it. Our attorneys, and we sent it to the Secretary of State, the county commissioners, the district attorney, the attorney general, county register of voters, county commissioners, everybody, all of it, Secretary of State, all of them, put them on notice that there's no way to legally certify this election. There's just too much There's too much shenanigans. Let's just call it incompetence, corruption at worst, incompetence at best, littered throughout the entire election process. Whether you have DMV, with only 44,000 people, they say, affected by the AVR system, but there's probably far, far more. Anyways, there's just so many issues with this election. It should never be certified. I know you were running in the election. You can't trust what they reported on their votes. You can't trust it at all. So anyways, they went and certified it anyways. We knew that they would. So then we literally had to file a recount, which isn't what we wanted to do, but there's such a very quick time frame to do things in the election process in Nevada. It's really wonky. Everything about it is super wonky. The way in which you do a recount, the way in which you contest, all of it, even the way that the elections are run, that can be observed, the way that a recount can be observed, all of it is super wonky against we the people, right? They literally, Nevada is the haven for fraud and corruption and completely illegitimate elections. And anybody that thinks that their vote counts here in Nevada is seriously drinking the wrong Kool-Aid. They shouldn't be drinking Kool-Aid anyways, but they definitely shouldn't be listening to the people that telling them that their vote actually matters here, because it really doesn't. And anyways, so once we finish this rigged recount, because again, they're literally using the same broken machines to count the same broken votes that then give us the same broken results.
Could I ask a question there real quick? So they're literally going to use the exact same process to recount?
They literally are using the same process right now. No observation, just like we had no observation into the real election process of being able to see a ballot. They try to hide behind the secret ballot. But the thing is they violated the secret ballot 6 ways from Sunday before the election even started by putting our names and party affiliations and voter information right there on the ballot for the envelope, or right on the envelope for the ballot. Then, of course, using ERIC, Electronic Registration Information Center, they give all of our personal information to ERIC that does what with it? They literally violate all of our secret ballot provisions, and then literally try to think that we're all too stupid to know that they've done it, number one. And number two, they're just using this legalese to keep us away from making sure that our election is transparent and free and fair. And people, they wonder why, our country is circling the drain, our county is circling the drain. It's because we have selections, not elections. It's very simple. We have failed policies by selected politicians that are destroying our families' lives. And until people realize that they need to go towards God, back towards God, and have free and fair elections, this is only going to get worse. So, like I said, we're going through the recount process. Same rig system. They're not going to hand count them. They're not going to count them in a different method. They're going to use the same broken system to count them, which is going to give us the same broken result. And anyways, we'll end up contesting. And then through the contest portion of this political process, we will be able to definitively show that the elections are incompetent at best, corrupt at worst. But here's the kicker, that Joey won by a landslide. So it's going to be very interesting to see if God comes through for us here with a constitutional, God-fearing, just a moral judge, to hear this case. Because when we put it forward, everybody, if there's enough people tuning in, obviously, because the media blacks this out, gives us the old silent treatment. They like to call us all the names in the world, but they don't ever want to cover what's really going on. If they cover what's really going on and what is really discovered and what we can really prove, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, and they know it.
So I have a question over there. So we're basically having, this cost $50,000 to have them recount everything, right?
No, it was $191,000 for the statewide recount. It's $50,000. It's somewhere between $40,000 to $50,000 per candidate in Clark County, $84,000 per candidate in Washoe County. So we did one candidate for the entire state at $191,000.
Wow, that's a lot of money. So 190 something thousand, they're going to recount it the same way they counted it.
It's a waste of money, a waste of time, and it's just going to allow the media to say, look, there was nothing wrong with the election. It's the same amount. It's the same amount in all these counties. Or it's even worse. My God, Joey lost by even more votes than we thought. Look at this idiot. He just paid all that money for this recount. Then he lost by more. That's what they do, because they use this broken system, and they think that you're too stupid, too dumb, or too lazy, to look into it. and or maybe just too busy, working 4 jobs to pay for gas and food because of these failed policies. So they just hide behind all this stuff and expect us all just to, to take our medicine and go home. But
So
again,
what's the strategy there? Like in terms of paying the 190 something thousand, what's the strategy of doing that? Is that like a necessary evil to get to the next level?
so we were out of time for a contest. So you file a recount, you go through that BS. At the end of it, you got 5 days to file a contest. If we didn't do that, then it was over. We literally just had to take take the fraud and go home, right? So we will be able to conclusively prove without a shadow of a doubt that Joey won in a landslide.
You said we will be?
We will be.
When does that? So now they do the
We can
recount.
prove it right now. I could literally prove it right now, but I got to save it for court.
Right now, everyone's going to think, I am the conspiracy theorist, full of it, sore loser, whatever. And you know what? Bottom line is this. As I've said the entire time, I've just been modest about it. I think people are going to be surprised to see that I did much better than they think I did. I'll leave it at that. We need things to happen, to fall in line. And in the meantime, we've got, like we're preparing and we're getting everything ready. And like I said, there's a recount going on statewide.
Right now you have essentially Lombardo and Sisolak that are a lot of people consider very similar. You're kind of ending up with the same person, more or less.
Yeah, so as Robert will tell you all the time now, I like to use these analogies now too because it makes it so simple. It's Coke and Pepsi. They don't want a disruptor in there like Joey Gilbert. They don't want someone in there that's going to end mandates and CRT and, stop all the nonsense happening in this state on day one, fix our broken schools. And it's just everything that I ever said scared the hell out of them, constitutional carry, back supporting our teachers, just decertify the teachers union. I mean, virtually everything I said are solutions to these problems that these guys, all they do is come in, whip everybody up, gaslight everybody, tell them what they're going to do, then nothing happens. And Joe Lombardo, it was the worst candidate they ever could have picked. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. The guy's on favorability ratings were damn near 60%, but they pushed him anyway. And it's all because, again, they want someone they can control. This isn't about Republican or Democrat. This is about a uniparty. This is about one party that rules everybody. They don't care either way. And as Robert said, they prune the Patriots. So they go in there and they pluck as many of the Patriots off as they can so they can have Coke or Pepsi in there. And Lombardo was nothing more than Sisolak 2.0. He's Sisolak with a badge. And no one that's even serious about our constitutional rights believed for 1 second that Lombardo wouldn't jam some mandate because he did it to his own guys down their throats. They didn't believe for 1 second he wouldn't go after their guns when he was pro-red flag law. They didn't believe for 1 second he wouldn't go after the magazine capacity. So these are all these things that people don't forget. And I'm out there campaigning, making sure it's very clear where I stand. He's hiding in the basement with Hunter, doing his little thing, showing up to an event here and there, a Lincoln Day dinner here and there. But here's a man who couldn't hold an event in Vegas without getting booed or heckled at it. All right, the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., came to Las Vegas, was at Shoney's, and they got 248 people in there, and 100 of them were supporters of mine that just wanted to see Trump Jr. Can you imagine that? You get less than 150 people to an event in Las Vegas. So this is a guy who's not liked. And so the issue is they push him to the front. And if you really want to know the real idea or the real reason why that happened is Lombardo would get slaughtered by Sisolak. He is a white Republican sheriff down here in Las Vegas that the African-American community, Latino community do not like. He had a vaccine mandate in place. 80% of the black populations against vaccines are definitely a mandate. Like I said, 65% of Latinos are not into the vaccine mandate. He did a mandate at his own people, again, so when asked on TV if he'd shut down, businesses, he said he would. So you've got all these things about him. And then most importantly, there were all these flaws, and it was going to be handing this thing to Sisolak. So what they did is they found the guy who looked like he was, possibly could be the bet because of his name recognition in Vegas, because he was here, because he ran for nonpartisan office, but they didn't take a deeper dive into really who disliked this guy. And as I campaigned throughout Southern Nevada, I found out this guy is not liked here in Southern Nevada. And so what they did, I believe there's a little something between him and Sisolak that, he runs, he loses. He won the primary. And again, we're going to be able to show, Sisolak didn't get the numbers he got. That's a bunch of nonsense. Lombardo didn't get the numbers he got. These guys have primed themselves to go up. And again, it was all in the paper about a year ago when Steve Sisolak said, when he heard Lombardo was running, he said, I look forward to a spirited contest against Joe Lombardo. And I truly believe that spirited contest was these guys, playing the game, and Sisolak and Lombardo run. Lombardo loses. Sisolak stays in power. There's no indictments. There's no investigations. There's no changes really. And that's really what was going to happen. And again, I'd love to be proven wrong, but like I said, I just starched this guy in every county, outside of Clark. And I think when Beadles gets to do what he gets to do, you're going to see that I even starched him in Clark County. This guy's got no chance. People are not going to vote for Joe Lombardo. And so I'll just say this. The executive committee here, the Nevada State GOP, they picked their horse. They're stuck with him now. Now that's their cross to bear, because they picked the wrong guy, someone that has no support, is massively unliked, and who's going to get dunked on by Sisolak.
So the theory is that they're just putting a weaker candidate out there because he's ultimately going to lose against Sisolak, and hence nothing drastic happens in terms of
100%. Sisolak. It's all about protecting power. Listen, they don't care who's in. So Sisolak's in, Lombardo will probably get appointed to something, or he'll go do something. He's a sheriff down here. He's got plenty of contacts. He'll get a casino job making, $400,000 or $500,000 a year. It's no issue. Bottom line is that they wanted someone. And listen, I don't care what anyone says, and that's where Robert and I laugh. You think that your vote counts. These people, it's selections, not elections. They are not giving up their power unless it's pried from their hands as they're being taken off to prison. They are not giving it up. There's no way they're giving it up. So you're seeing it with the school board races, and you'll see some rhinos get through, and you'll see a few people will squeak through. But the large majority of anybody that's actually going to make a change, make a difference, ain't making it through November.
They're not making it through, yeah. It definitely, from just standing on the outside looking at this, it definitely seems like anybody that, when I was knocking on doors, everybody seemed like they were irate.
Yeah.
The last thing I expected was a bunch of rhinos to win these races. That just seems to me, just from a spectator's level, without looking at the numbers, without looking at the evidence you guys have, that just seems very odd to me in 2022 after all that's happened to deprive us of our rights and the temperature of people on the streets.
Well, you're 100% spot on. And again, we felt this across the state. We were in almost every county numerous times. Everyone came up mentioning the same 3 or 4 things, depending on where you were. It was the economy tied to mandates. It was schools. It was crime. It was Second Amendment. It was water. And that's what it was.
And voter fraud, if I could throw that in there. Voter fraud was a big one.
Yeah. And voter fraud. That was the one I left out. Sometimes, depending on where you were in the state, it was second or third, like in Elko and in Humboldt and in Pershing, where they talk about it all the time, the fraud, because they think Vegas is completely and totally corrupt. They say it all the time. It says our vote doesn't count because they're corrupt down there. So bottom line is, that's the issue. The issue was that they handpicked candidates that they wanted to, to step in so they can maintain their power. It's as simple as that. We would have had another 4 years of Sisolak, and here come more mandates, here come more masks, here comes monkeypox, whatever it is. And as Robert has said, we make a stand here and now. If we don't stand right now and fight together for this state, it's over. They get through 2022 and 2024, it's a wrap.
So we're really hoping that everything hinges upon this judge, basically, right? At this point.
Yeah, I would say the judge, but listen, we're gonna fight this by any and all means necessary. This is going to be conventional warfare mixed with, digital warfare. Listen, we've got to get this to the people. We've got to make sure people understand what's really going on. And I'll tell you something. This is that turning point where they know. Everyone already knows this is going on. Now we're just going to show them. And I think that's going to really wake people up.
I guess I'm going to ask a question. You guys might not be able to answer this, but because you don't want to reveal your game plan going forward, but what happens if this doesn't end up in front of a constitutional judge?
Well, it's in God's hands, right? So we have lots of options. We're going to exhaust them all. So we will not stop. It's really that simple.
Is there a peaceful, logical solution to the abundant corruption that we're currently seeing in our government that's no longer working for we the people?
It's so simple. Go back to paper ballots, single day of voting, make it a holiday, clean the voter rolls, voter ID, unbiased tabulators. It's gone. You fix our elections, you fix everything. People want these people out. They just can't get them out. That's the worst part of this. You think any of these Clark County commissioners that locked these people down would get revoted in? Absolutely not. Yeah. You think any of these, dingbat superintendents that pulled the nonsense they pulled wouldn't be fired on the spot? Listen, these people are scared. All we need is accountability back. All we need is the people. We the people, if our voice is the voice that's in control again, which is as it should be, all these clowns, all these corrupt scumbags will be fired. We'll have real folks in here doing the job for the people, representing the people. It'll fix everything.
But when they're fighting tooth and nail, even going to these extents where you have a clearly flawed voting process, how do you overcome that?
You keep fighting, man. You listen. We all knew this wasn't going to be easy. Again, I don't know what the next few weeks are going to be like. All I do know is we have some information that the public needs to learn about, and it absolutely contradicts the narrative that's been spoon-fed to them by the fake news media, the press, which has all played a part in this. As Trump always said, the press is the enemy of the people. They're the ones carrying on this charade, not publicizing the real information. And so, again, we're going to take it to them. And however long this takes, I think the most important thing to understand is we're not going anywhere. And again, if this doesn't return it, ideally, perfect scenario, Lombardo does the right thing and bows out because he realizes he's going to get killed. We expose the fraud. They know that if they know they can't use these machines, there's only one person, clear as day, that's got a chance to beat Sisolak, right? And it won't even be close. But if they don't do that, then they lose, and then we just keep worrying and make sure that by the next time there's an election, whether it's 2024 or 2026, we have it cleaned up. But there's the option of not doing something is not an option. We will stay in this fight till we fix elections here in Nevada.
Now, in terms of this judge that we're ultimately talking about being in front of after that 5-day window, once the recount's done, right? It seems as though a jury, you'd have a much better chance of prevailing in front of a jury.
Oh, I'd absolutely request a jury trial.
Is that possible?
We're going to request one. It should be.
It should be.
Absolutely should be.
And you would be able to vet the jury and make sure that you have a well-balanced jury?
There's no doubt in my mind that 12 Nevadans in I don't care where they come from, these are 80% issues. You can't cheat in elections, okay? You can't. You can't install who you want to install, okay? That just doesn't, this is America. You can't mandate stuff on people. You can do whatever you want. You can voluntarily wear a mask or get this, but you can't. These are, again, schools, safe schools. Violence out of the schools, okay? The CRT out of the schools. These are 80% issues against all demographics. And when you take those elections and you say that these elections are why we're not having this stuff because you have no voice, that's the ball game right there. So
yeah,
that's what we have to do.
So all right. So are you guys comfortable at all talking about without getting into too many specifics about flipping votes and who got what? Are you comfortable talking about where the likely cheating happened that caused the most amount of change, the biggest amount of votes to change?
I'll let Robert answer this, but it's obvious where it happened. It's Clark County because of how big it is.
Well, in terms of, you have your mail-in ballots, you have your in-person, you have your absentee. Where did most of the cheating and flipping of votes happen within those different brackets, styles of voting?
In a nutshell, it's a very simple yet eloquent way of injecting ballots into the system that are fake, but they're real ballots. They're just not filled out by the proper people. In the deleting ballots, and they do it in such a ratio to where we really have selections versus elections. They already know what percentage they want candidate A to win by, right? So they literally already have the algorithm in place. So regardless of how many ballots you shove into it, right, it's going to give the desired response. What people don't understand is machines do what machines are programmed to do. So if you literally have, one or two people that are running our elections, which is what we see in many counties, they're just like subcontractors, and then they report to appointees that aren't even elected in many cases, like what we have in Clark and Washoe. And people just, they think that the voting process is, well, I tell you, the pendulum is swinging in public awareness is awakening. We see that Republicans are now 90-something%. They believe that there's issues with their elections. Democrats are 40-50% now. So you can see that public awareness is increasing into this issue, and we're very close. We're very close just to exposing this to where everybody, or at least enough people, like 80% of people, are actually able to see what's going on with their elections and how they really don't count. So essentially, it's a beautiful algorithm that was very intelligently designed that allows for that's actually multiple algorithms that literally work in symphony together. That is this orchestration of, injecting ballots and removing ballots at a certain percentage to make sure whoever they selected is elected. It's really that simple. And then at the end, they haul ass because whatever the numbers are, they have to make sure that they have those ballots there on site. So how is it that, for instance, they can count, 100,000 ballots in a recount in a day, but we need 6 weeks for an election? Again, they think that, you're too stupid, or that you're too lazy, or you're, whatever to understand this, or you're too busy working 4 jobs to be able to get involved. And they're just literally stealing these elections right in front of us. But I believe that more people are waking up, and this is a very simple fix. All we do is we just go back 20 years, 25 years, and we do precinct level or district level voting, where the people that live in the precinct or the district vote in that precinct or district. And the people that live there work that election. You don't use machines, you use voter ID. Literally within 2 hours after the polls close, you have the election results. It's decentralized, it's safe, it's secure, it's for the people, by the people. I mean, it's beautiful. That's the way it's supposed to be. But they consistently keep dumping more and more technology into things, and they consistently keep lying to all of us, telling us that we need it, or there's no way to count all these ballots by hand, which is complete and utter BS, right? It's so simple. We have, like in Washoe County, 4,000 volunteers. We'd literally be done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours.
You look at other countries like Mexico, Spain, where they're doing these, hand counts. In like 24 hours, you got the whole country counted.
Hundreds of millions of people, right? And they're able to freaking do it in one day. Yeah. They've even got like a little, ink thumb, right? I mean, but as absurd as that sounds, that is still light years more safe and secure than what we have in America, and definitely what we have in Nevada. That's how horrible it is, and people need to wake up to that. Otherwise, learn Mandarin, start speaking it, because in a couple of years they're going to take over. Get another 15 jobs, and hey, I don't know. You just push through it, I guess, unless you want to wake up.
Do you think that's a future, or you think that before we get to that level of, essentially becoming like a servant state to China, that there'll be civil unrest or whatever else?
Yeah, I mean, it's all by design. They're literally trying to push for that now. Why do you think they keep, why do you think they're flooding people in from the southern and other northern borders? Why do you think we have supply chain issues? It's all by design. You look at the big corporations that control all these the other big corporations that are who we rely on for our infrastructure and for supplies, and they're literally being choked off by design to cause pressure on the American people. And all this, again, is failed policies by selected politicians. And until we fix the elections, everything else, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because if we still have these failed people over us, you're going to see all kinds of mess. You're going to see war. You're going to see civil unrest. You're going to see China taking over the whole freaking world. You're going to see it all if this continues. But the beauty of this is people are waking up to it, and we still have time right now to fix it if they get off their ass and get involved. That's the big thing. Rather than, crying from the couch or whining to their family members, they actually get in the fight themselves and get involved. If they're able to do that, if enough of us are, this is a wrap for them, because we outnumber them 60,000 to 1 if just 10% of us stand up and do that.
Yeah. I mean, based upon your research, Robert, because it sounds like you've gone deep into this whole voter fraud issue. When did this problem start? When did they get the better of our voting system?
They've been doing this in the 1700s, 1800s. It's just they've perfected it now over the past couple decades, right? Mm-hmm. So in Nevada, Heller brought in electronic voting machines in 2004. When did the state start going blue? Nobody wants to stop and think like, wait a minute here. California was red. When did that change? I mean, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger. We had all these guys. It was red. We had Reagan, and then you started introducing all these electronic voting machines. and all this infrastructure and technology in the name of transparency and efficiency. And all it does is it's very efficient at stripping us of our rights and our liberties, and in turn, of course, sending our prices and affordability, basic things through the roof to where a family can't even survive anymore. Everybody's in the poverty level. Nobody has savings. They can't afford anything for the most part. So, and all this goes back to elections. That's what people have to understand. This is a big freaking deal.
Joey, did you want to say anything in closing regarding this issue, or anything else for that matter?
No, listen, I'll leave with this. We worked incredibly hard. We had the right message. The people of this state deserve actual leadership. They just, in leadership, as I said, my entire campaign is action, not a position. And that's what we did. We're acting. It's time to act. And so I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay in this fight. I have to stay in this fight. My daughter's future's at stake. And that's what this is all about. It's about our beautiful children. It's about our constitutional republic. So I'll just say, look, I look forward to speaking to you again. We have a lot that's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks, so we should probably do another debrief here soon. Sure. But all I could say is I'm just so incredibly blessed and fortunate to have the team I've had fighting alongside me, the support I had in this state from Nevadans who continue to support me every day, telling me, do not concede, do not give in. We knew you'd fight for us. And I would just say, Nevada, I'm fighting for you. I'm not going anywhere, and we're going to win this. Yeah, we appreciate that, Joey. And, in closing, if I could just say something here, Robert, Joey, we live in an era where there's unfortunately an abundant amount of cowardly individuals that don't fight. And really kudos to you guys. Whatever you're doing here is for the betterment of this country and the state. And my most sincere thanks to you guys for going in as far as you've gone in and willing to put up a fight to restore our elections.
It's up to God and us.
Yeah, thank you.